In today's episode of the Pathwing Presents podcasts, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Anita Dorf, and she's hailing over from the folks over at the Neat company. And Neat is an interesting proposition. They basically, I would say, is the one and only, at least what we've been studying, a financial management toolkit that basically serves a very broad set of tasks. So, all in one solution for the users, so that folks can actually use their time to grow their business. So today we want to jump into the Neat company, really learn what it's all about, and talk growth with Anita. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lucas. Great to be here.
Of course. So maybe give us a quick overview. What is Neat and Neat.com all about?
The Neat company has been around 20 plus years, and you may or many may know us for our Neat receipt scanners of old, and we're still known for the millions of those scanners that we sold years ago. At some point, we bundled software to capture those financial documents that people were scanning through that particular piece of hardware. And eventually, as time changed and needs evolved, we decided to go down the path of really helping solopreneurs like freelancers and consultants, very small businesses, do 4 things by taking a fresh look at bookkeeping, accounting, and invoicing. And those 4 things are, 1, managing the frustrating paper-intensive bookkeeping tasks that many really hate doing, organizing financial records, increasing speed to cash, in quotes, really making it easier for people to invoice their customers and easier for their customers to pay them. And lastly, to make tax preparation easier and remove those headaches and make it all accessible via mobile. So you can do it on your phone or your tablet from anywhere. So with Neat, you don't need to be a CPA. There's no accounting jargon. We're really oriented to the business owners who want to be in control of their finances, but we're not mired down with the unnecessary complexity of those larger accounting software packages and what they come with.
Yes, having been in many companies myself, I can just speak out of experience. This is very needed. Very often those solutions are unnecessarily complex and just make it harder to actually complete the task. So really appreciate solutions like Neat out there. What would you say is where's the sweet spot? Like, what types of companies where does Neat fit the best? Is there a certain size, certain industries, certain amount of invoices that they should have per month?
Neat is really a product for the self-employed solopreneur, very small business that's either running their business on spreadsheets or is dissatisfied with that more complicated software that we were just talking about. Often because it's more complex than their particular business requires. So whether it's a side hustle or people are billing millions, we really sit in that sweet spot for people who bill for their time and for their projects. So think service industries, think creative professionals, general contractors, other marketing professionals, content writers, and then even plumbers, landscapers, those types of businesses that tend to be small in the employee count, although maybe have subcontractors or others that are put out for jobs. That's really where our sweet spot is. And once they're using Neat, they do really find benefit. They're saving time and money on managing their finances, whether it's at tax time because their accounting bill is lower, or because they aren't bogged down with errors. For all of us, as I mentioned before on that speed to cash idea, it's about cash flow. And Neat gives you real-time insights into your cash position so you can make those informed decisions about your business and then focus on what's most important.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, how do these guys learn about you? Like you mentioned, obviously the name is a household name by now, but what would you say, what's the journey looking like for somebody, getting to know Neat, getting started with the product? What would be sort of the key client acquisition channels you guys leverage?
In general, the top 2 ways people find us are both that brand recognition that brings them to our website because we've got a great brand name and people type in neat.com, and we've got that satisfaction from those old scanner days and our evolution to today. and also a lot of search. So paid and organic search is something we focus on a lot, and that's the significant source of where our traffic comes from. With that being said, we also work to reach these freelancers and consultants through other means, call it higher in the funnel, whether that's other digital media like display and social, review and comparison sites. We do a lot with influencer and partnership marketing, working for earned media, all of those things to really cast a wide net within the segment that we really provide value to.
That makes a lot of sense. How do you think about the website then? Like as a marketer, what role do you think the website plays at the moment? And how do you think about the website as part of the journey?
So we are all e-commerce, and subsequently our website is at the heart of everything that we do. And we work the website to make sure it can serve all purposes. It can educate the customer. It can guide them into the trial so they can get hands-on experience with what it is. It provides support once they're a customer, and really helps people through not only the buyer's journey, but the customer journey as well, and what they're experiencing in-app. So for us, again, as e-commerce only, our website is the heart of everything we do.
Mm. And now every marketer that I have on the show pretty much is in a way critical of their own website. There's always some strength, but there's always some things to improve. Where do you see sort of the strength of the current website versus where do you maybe even see, room for further improvement or things that you think the page could develop towards to?
I think that what we see is that many people dive straight into a trial and maybe they're not ready. Because they need to learn more about the nature of the product. They want to see the demo, see if they're ready for it. Is this the right time to change whatever platform they're using, or if they're not using a platform, to morph their business from spreadsheets and documents into a software? And I think that's a piece where we do really great at pulling people and putting people into trials, but there's an element of making sure that we can balance education about the product before starting a trial. And so I think that's room for improvement, at the same time as telling you that a great strength is that we move a lot of people into trials, which is terrific. But I think there's a piece of qualifying new customers a little bit to make sure they're getting what they need at their particular stage of the buyer's journey.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, in general, right? Because you mentioned you guys have a strong website visitor to trial ratio. Like, what have you learned over the years? Can be with Neat, can be in other positions, maybe things that help to actually have that high conversion rate. Is there any tools, approaches, methods that you've been coming across over the years when it comes to lifting, for example, a trial sign-up rate like that?
Some of it, I think, is what we've all experienced as marketers, where you're looking at the recipe or the formula in terms of acceleration through the buyer's journey. If you're thinking awareness through the consideration piece and down to making a decision, there's different types of people and different type of businesses that are going to accelerate through that journey faster or slower based on where they are in their business, where they are in how they're approaching their finances in general, and what their needs are. So I think the successes that we've seen are probably pretty traditional, right? It's the length of the trial. It's the sense of urgency that we're creating to get there. It's how you communicate with people and show them the value really early on during the trial experience. So I don't know that there's anything revolutionary that we've discovered, but I think it's, the blocking and tackling of marketing and knowing your customer and satisfying those needs, understanding those pain points and the problem areas that your product is going to solve, but also understanding what resonates with them through the buyer's journey and being able to provide them the information they need to make an informed decision.
Now, it's been a topic that's been recently coming up on the podcast. I will just tease it and see what you think, because some marketers spend more time on it, some spend less. The topic of the cookieless future, right? That cookies are going to be gone. And you mentioned search marketing as well. Is that, in your industry, do people already start talking about it? Is that something that's a bit on the back burner? Like, what's your impression? What do you see marketers around you talking about?
I think it's somewhere in between. I don't think it's on the back burner, but I don't think it's today's first priority.
Mhm.
So it's on the radar and making sure that we plan for it, but understanding that we still have moments to capitalize on during the cookie present that we're in, even if we're morphing to a cookieless future. So I think that what I hear most is very much the be in the moment, use them for what they can now, but plan for other ways to be able to identify customers, other ways to be able to serve up what's needed, despite some changes in the way we're going to receive that information and be able to retarget our customers going forward.
Mhm. I'd love to switch gears a little bit. We talked about growth, we talked about the website, we talked about even a cookieless future a little bit now. I'm curious to learn about yourself and your journey in marketing. Where do you personally like to educate yourself? Like, where do you personally find resources for marketers that you find actually helpful and valuable?
Probably a variety of sources. I'm one who engages in a smattering of different things. So I'm not forgive me, but I'm not the person who's committed to listens to all marketing podcasts, but I listen to some. And it's not necessarily consistent. It's what pops up and strikes me in the moment. There's a lot of third-party research that I engage in about current and future trends, even informing from the past. I've evolved from the traditional marketer to the digital marketer, meaning that I've been around long enough and worked the brand pieces and the direct response pieces in the world of millions and millions of direct mail pieces to traditional media, above the line in the broadcast realm, to getting much more intimate with knowing the depth of the needs and of our prospects and customers and being able to personalize accordingly. And then I will also say that I think the most valuable piece, and this has been both more challenging over the last couple of years in a COVID world, but has also unleashed a lot of opportunities in the same space, is really the collaboration and tapping into other marketing experts. And so I think that while there was a time that people flocked to a network that was in similar spaces, I think there's a lot to learn by looking at businesses that are different than your own or companies that are different than your own. So whether it's looking outside the vertical or looking outside the size and scope, but really learning from that expertise of peers and getting insights that often wind up being, the seed of a brand new idea that really makes a difference. So varied approach, I suppose, as I look to, stay on my game.
Very good. I have some rapid fire questions. They're a bit of a surprise to wrap up the interview. Are you ready for those?
Sure, go for it.
What is the last book you read?
The last book I read was actually a reread, if I'm honest. I reread the original Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence. And one of my favorite books, he's written so many more since the original that have focused on the workplace, that have focused on a variety of other things. But I went back to that original more recently, as I've done, it's probably the third time I've read the book, just to ground myself and reorient around that, because I think there's so much there in our interactions with our colleagues and friends and family for certain, but also how we think about the psychology of our prospects and customers alike.
Yep. No, super interesting. I mean, rereads is what we notice here on the show are typically the books that are actually getting the most recommendations. The ones that people reread a couple of times are the ones that are really valuable. So, yes. Very good. What's the one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Focused on the most? Quality over quantity. Simple statement there, but it really is making sure that we are, as it relates to attracting customers, making sure we're getting the quality prospects in the door and not wasting time on just driving volume to get them through and see what comes out the other end. Certainly, as it relates to our product, making sure that we're releasing and adding quality features and not just the tonnage of new things. So very much, I would say, quality over quantity in a few areas.
And for the very last question, I would like to do a little bit of time travel with you and go back to the days of your formal education, going back into, basically your initial steps into the world of marketing, back to Emory University. What would be the one advice that you would give yourself if you would be starting out after your formal education?
Mm-hmm. I think it would be so the phrase that's coming to my mind, which goes back to early in my career, was to operate with constructive impatience. And I think why I say I'd go back and give that advice to myself is that there are times in my career that impatience has been a good thing. And there are times in my career that impatience has been a bad thing. And I think that the constructive impatience is making sure that you're not rushing for rushing's sake, or that you're not rushing because the belief is that speed is the most important thing, but that you're doing it constructively and you're trying to achieve something for a very particular reason, intentionally at a given time, and balancing the priority of speed with, I'm going to use the word perfection, but that's probably not the right word. But I'm going to go with that I would go back and say, operate every day, every project, almost every conversation with constructive impatience.
And this could be another book in itself, I would say. Very good. Anita, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathmark Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about NEAT today, what's the one thing that they should remember?
The one thing people should remember is that NEAT's got your back. We listen to the needs of small businesses and provide solutions to help. And that's what we're here to do.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Thank you.